Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to uLaw CPD webinar. Topic for today's session is Law Office Expense Management. Session is available for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. As you all know, uLaw does not provide substantiative hours, but however, we do for professionalism CPD credits, and can be availed across various law societies, including LSO, LSA, NSBC, and a few others across Canada. Please do make a note of the title. You all can see your Law Office Expense Management once again. And sharing the attendance link and topic information towards the end of the session. The ones who are already on phone audio, great. For the ones who are not on phone audio, I do recommend to switch over to the phone audio as it's really very comfortable. And please do let me know if you're not able to hear me well otherwise. Okay. If one of you can let me know in the chat window as well, it'll be nice. I'm assuming everyone is able to hear me well. It's a nice topic, a lot of things to cover, a lot of things to discuss, to walk you all over uLaw, same topic, expense management. This is definitely my personal favorite, considering that expense management is going to add a lot of value to your books in the sense, sometimes we're keen on recording income, obviously, because you have to provide your client with a receipt, or you have to make a trust transfer to record that in order to reconcile your trust. You would be very keen on adding the receipts, which is the trust retainers and then trust transfers and client payments. But most of the times, what I see from people reaching out to us at support level, or for their bookkeeping, or for migration, various times I've come across many people not focusing much on their expenses, basically because most of the expenses are done in the general account, which people think does not require compliances over there, as general reconciliation is not mandatory as much as trust, which has to be literally completed every month for reconciliations. Our general ledger, general journals, I would like to reiterate a simple point here that all of these that fall under Law Society compliance. General ledgers, general journals, fee book, expense book, these are of the reports that are actually part of your monthly Law Society compliances. Helps you to prepare your annual reports, which is in fact due in the upcoming months. And also you prepare I meet many people trying to update their books, especially expenses, general account transactions towards their financial year end. I mean, it varies from the firm to firm, whichever is their financial year end. I've seen people literally break their head about how do I record these expenses? How do I make my taxes look better, my books look meaningful, right? When their accountants start filing taxes, people, that's when they wake up for expenses. Don't mistake me, but I just want to come here to say things that really make sense when it comes to bookkeeping. Expense management is equally important as much as you're collecting your retainer, your client payments, or your trust recording, your trust transfers. How much of an importance or weightage that you give to those very equally is to be provided to disbursements and office expense management. Today, we're going to discuss expense management in Law Office, considering both disbursements and office expenses. As you all know, disbursements is something that is incurred on behalf of a client, and you would be recovering it from them. So it's called as mostly recovery of expenses. And these are some things that you would be, claiming from your client of your invoice. And because you will be spending for it and then recovering it, and then you pay for yourself. And when it comes to office expenses, on the other hand, it's typical expenses that any office would incur based on your area of practice. Some would have home office, some would have and would be operating from an actual office. So you would have rent, then you would have other utilities, you will have software subscriptions, you would have your membership fee, you would have your bank charges, and then pay yourself, pay your staff, whatnot, right? So sometimes recording these expenses really help you to maintain your ledgers, your journals, your books in order, and also help you to set your taxes off. Because let's say you only keep recording your income, and then somebody comes and tells me, hey, Gayatri, you know what, my HST report is not accurate, my these are not accurate, something is wrong here. And then I go into their, GL and try to pull out some reports, and then I see that they've not recorded any expense. So obviously their HST will be more because they would keep continuing to, in this case, let's just say taxes in general, HST, GST, PST would obviously be high, like to remit to the government, because they've not entered any expenses that would consist of taxes that would actually set off against the taxes on the income that was received. So basically the input tax credit comes into picture only when you add the taxes, only when you put the expenses into your books, not otherwise, right? Is one other reason why you should be focusing on recording your expenses, your office expenses, your disbursements, and all of that. So today, we're going to talk about this in detail, see how you could record disbursements, how you could record your office expenses, and more. So hope everyone is in this with me. I hope everyone can hear me. I didn't hear back from anyone on the chat window. I'm assuming really you all can hear me. I'm just going to put it on the chat window. Can everybody hear me? Please let me know. One of you would be great. Turn on video, phones on, everything. No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. At least I had one person say. I'm going to just quickly help people settle in while that was the introductory part. Please bear with me while I guide people to turn on their audio. Years of very poor clarity. Oh, I'm so sorry. Give me a second. Sometimes my AirPods acts weird. Give me a second, please. If you can use the phone audio, nothing like that. Trust me, phone audio makes a big difference. I am currently on my phone. Join me using phone audio. I can give you the number. Just give me a second. It's a number, and you also have to put the meeting code. Let me give you the one. Okay, so this is the number, and here is the conference ID. This is the local Ontario number. I think Canada-wide can be used. Thank you, viewer 20, informing. So meantime, when people are settling in, Let me ask you today, I have about 20 of you here on the webinar, so I hope everybody knows the importance of bookkeeping. How many of you here always done your data entry yourself with your expenses managed, your income, expense, revenue, whatever you call it as, right? Like basically your books, of which expenses, your general account up to date. I just want to, just out of curiosity, while people are settling in, let's give them a couple minutes. We can take this opportunity to have a little chat. How do you all manage your office expenses? Do you really enter them yourself? Do you have your banks connected to uLaw or in your respective software? Do you add them every week, every month, every day? I don't know if you're a freak like me. Every evening you would sit and add expenses, or every time your bank is connected, you would just go in and make the best use of the software that's available. How do you do it? Thank you. You mean attempted to do? I can hear now. Okay. I'm not sure what viewer number 21 says. You mean you're attempting to do the books? That's not bad. Like where you have to start. So it'll be nice, if you get inspired out of today's webinar and go back, start doing your books. I would be the most honored person to know that you would be starting off with your books in today's webinar. So, okay, looks like very common, don't worry. You know what, somewhere you have to get started and you'll get the hang of it, you get the flow of it. Software do scare you sometimes, but trust me, it would not fail you. It will make sure you're on the right track, make sure your banks are connected to the program, you have your expenses entered on a weekly basis, if not too much, every Friday evening, every Saturday morning. You want to make sure you take efforts to keep your books in order so you're not dependent on any people. If you are not able to, obviously, then you have to. But end of the day, at least you're on top of your books. You don't feel guilty. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This webinar will definitely be helpful. Let's dive into disbursements to start off with. I will keep disbursements in crux because we have a separate webinar for disbursements called as Disbursement Demystified, but I will certainly discuss everything that I need to manage your expense. Now, disbursements, any expense incurred on behalf of your client. It could be process server fee, could be filing fee, could be court fee, could be nothing but printing charges, admin charges, bank charges, any of it. Anything incurred on behalf of your client that they are willing to reimburse, that you can recover from them is known as a disbursement. Of course, you need to record it in your books, but please do not record it as your legal fee. It's a common myth that I see when I come across a lot of books. Legal fee for a reason has to be entered as legal fee in your books, and disbursements, anything that you're recovering from your client saying that it's not your legal fee, it's an expense on behalf of it. Record it as disbursement. Henceforth, it will be shown in a separate category in your financial statements as recovery of expense. It's not your income, it's not your revenue, it's recovery of expense. Remember that. So that's one of the reasons why people are not allowed to club disbursements with legal fee if it's a flat rate too. Legal fees are legal fee for the work that you've done, for the legal work that you've carried out. But yes, on the other hand, disbursements being expense incurred on behalf of your client who is willing to pay that again, who's willing to pay that back, and that's known as recovery of expense. Need to maintain proper books so you can invoice and you can get the money into your books, into your bank too. And on the other hand, business or office expenses, any expense literally made to keep your office running, to keep the lights on, is known as an office expense. Again, both these disbursements and office expenses vary from different types and areas of practice. Now, if you're a paralegal, you'll have different types of expenses for both your client and your office. Similarly for lawyers, similarly for a family law would be different. A real estate lawyer, they would have numerous transactions that are in and out, and they would have something that they have to pay for different softwares to keep up with the closures. So again, it varies from profession, a different area of practices, and from a legal professional who is a paralegal versus a lawyer definitely would have different types of expenses. Whichever is that, you would track them down, you would ensure to start recording them in your books as if disbursement or office expenses. There can be only two types. There's nothing than that, like there's nothing in between. Either it's something that you've done for client or for yourself and your office. Now, when it comes to disbursements and business expenses, disbursements, yes, are recoverable, which means that you will get paid back from your client. So if you do not track your disbursement, you don't know how to charge them. You don't know what to charge them. You don't know whether it has PST, GST, HST, whether it is taxable or non-taxable, whether you want to charge them with a marked up value or not. Now, to manage your disbursements well, what are some things that you could do? Number one, I always tell my clients to follow the bank. Let's say you have made this disbursement from trust. When you are in uLaw, you would actually record it as a payout of trust. Now, if you have made it out of general, like a general or a business credit card or your personal credit card, which is called as owner's pocket, you will record it appropriately. If it is general, then you have another thing to worry about, whether you're charging them the same amount that you spent or you're charging them a different amount, markup, or mostly it's markup because a few times people mark down if they had a conversation with their client and they gave them a further discount, then let's say they would have spent $100 on something, but they would end up charging only 50% of it. So then markup, mark down, whatever, right? That depends on the agreement. So once you decide the portion of the invoice that you want to enter that, and then raise an invoice. Once you raise an invoice along with the legal fee, you get your disbursement paid. Then you pay yourself. That is when the actual recovery gets completed, that cycle. Right? Now, if you can pay out of trust, what are some things that you can pay out of trust and for a disbursement? Any fee, any filing fee, court fee, any fee that does not carry any markup value, or any other items that does not carry any markup value, can be done from trust. I've not seen people doing printing, office admin, bank charges from trust, but mostly it's fee, any court fee, filing fee, process server fee, all of those that can be charged directly out of trust. And you can bill for it, you can recover, pay yourself, and that's a very straightforward accounting. Many times people fear to use trust or to use trust money. So let me tell you that using trust money is not an issue unless you follow the right method of accounting and the right method of recording it in the books, showing your client an invoice with a payout of trust, and it doesn't have any kind of markup value or something. It is an actual expense that was spent directly out of, and then you've invoiced your client and ensured that the rest of it is being noted down in your books. Now, what is the biggest plus point, or I would say a biggest advantage of paying out of trust. You don't have to pay yourself. There is nothing about recovery of expense here. When do you recover? When you have spent it and you recover. In this case, the trust money belongs to the client. You have taken out that money and spent it on a disbursement. Clearly recorded it in the book saying it was a disbursement. $200 out of the 500 retainer was used. The remaining 300 goes towards the legal fee, which gets transferred from trustee general after you've done the invoice. The partial payment is very simple. I'll show you when I do the trust transfer in uLaw. But once you become an admin, the trust transfer, you will see a little tab that says override payment, where you can actually edit and enter whatever you want to transfer. The 1/4 of the invoice, 10% of the invoice, half of the invoice, or 75% of the invoice. A portion of invoice can be transferred. I will be doing it on uLaw. I intend to walk you all through that. Thank you. Yeah. Now coming to disbursements using general account. Even though general account gives you the freedom of doing whatever you want, with the flexibility, you do get a little bit of additional steps that you need to cover or fulfill when it comes to, disbursements out of general. Obviously, you have to ensure that you're, recording the expense, the date, the particulars, the taxes, whether it's taxes inclusive, exclusive, everything else, the method of payment, how did you pay for, who paid for it, all the particulars. Once the disbursement is recorded, as if it's paid from the bank, credit card out of personal pocket, then you pay yourself. So there is an additional step for accounting involved here to show as if you paid yourself. Okay. Now, when it comes to recovery of disbursement, what are some things that you have to keep in mind? Like make sure you raise an invoice with all the information. When was the expense made, the date, the amount, particulars, tax, up, not down, everything. And then you raise an invoice. And once you raise an invoice, there are two ways in which you can get paid. Number one, there will be money already sitting in the trust. So you're just going to invoice yourself and pay yourself and transferring the money from trust to the general. But two, there's no money sitting in trust. They don't have any retainer of sort. You're going to get the money into the general account by client link directly into your general. The next thing here is that make sure you have all the ledgers and journals up to date. By creating one of them, you would need to show personal journals, just general disbursement details such as the reference number, particulars, access. Once you get paid, like I said, either from trust transfer or from general payment, and you can issue a receipt, making sure it shows the payments it belongs to. whether it's a legal fee or disbursement. Since we're discussing here about you have to ensure that the receipt specifying all of the details. Uh, Moving on to the next one, different types of disbursements. We've seen that disbursements are made from both trust and general. There are very few times people use trust and are asked to use trust only if it is something that doesn't have fit margin and any kind of fee and, like court fee, filing fee, anything that is an actual. Recovery of expenses on actuals, outsourced consultancy on actuals, billable on actuals. You can use both trust and general. Unit rate, mileages, travel time, any of the recovery of expenses with profit margin, outsourced consultancy with profit margin, these are strictly to be done only from general. So it's not very difficult to differentiate between both. Just to remember that anything that has to do with the profit margin, just close your eyes, use general as the medium for the disbursement. Anything like fee, court fee, where you don't even have any adjustments or any of those margins, markup value, you can then happily use those trust. Remember, we discussed about the benefit of using trust. The bookkeeping requirement is definitely easier. You just pay out of trust and record it as if paid out of trust, and everything is taken. Now, moving on to documents that needs to be shown as you all can see here, where all should you see the disbursement. Right? Number one, you have the ledgers. There are two ledgers, the client's trust ledger and the client's general ledger, both of it showing the transactions of disbursement, whether there was a fee or whether it was a transfer of general or trust go up under disbursement respectively. Likewise, the fee book, in fact, will show in detail the details of the fee and the disbursement. It has a separate column for disbursement. You will have all the details over there. Also, the disbursement journals. Now, moving on to that's about the disbursement. So those are the reports where you get to see all the disbursement entries and all the details. So most of the times the disbursements carry all the information, including the receipt number, the transaction numbers, and that would eventually show up on your reports too. Journals are more drilled down version of ledgers, so it will show a single type of activity. And when it comes to disbursement, there are two types of disbursement journals. One is called as a trust disbursement journal, and the other one, general disbursement journal, specifying the transactions of the respective bank accounts. That's why I always say follow your bank. When you follow your bank, you will know the transaction has to be recorded under trust or general respectively. Moving on to office expenses, business expenses. Like I said, expenses made to keep your office running are known as office expenses. And you need to make sure to be recording all of this into your books of accounts. And manage your taxes better. Like I already discussed at the initial stages, right, of this webinar, and you have to, file your taxes, whether your HST, GST, PST, or whether your annual returns, whether your annual report. It's really important for you to know these really matter, like recording these expenses goes a long way. Does uLaw has these samples for download? Yes, I will be showing you where you can download them, and you should be ideally downloading them every month. I'm going to show you as part of walkthrough in uLaw in a bit, maybe another 10 to 15 minutes. Now, two type of office expenses. Like I said, different offices have different types of expenses. And one such is an office management expenses, such as furniture, stationery, or utilities, internet, bills, advertisements, business promotions, marketing, everything comes under office management expenses. Obviously, then you have the rent, taxes, bank charges, it depends again. You would identify your monthly expenses. You would identify the easiest, I would say, to identify is obviously you will have some pre-authorizations, some checks. Make sure to create respective is under the respective chart of accounts as you progress. If you don't know how to create the chart of accounts, the expense under the chart of accounts, they will be walking you through that in a bit. You identify your monthly expenses, you go over that. What are some documents that need to be maintained for office expense? Expense book will show in detail all your expenses, like, your invoices that was used with the office expense. Office expenses, you don't raise invoice, but for disbursements, you do, and that gets here. Then we have borrowings reports, P&L expense statement, which is generally used to provide to your accountants. It does like to see your HST, GST, PST to ensure this have been recorded appropriately. Now the question, how would we know just a percentage of a whole bill, say hydro or rent? You have to manually calculate it. Some of the home offices allows you to calculate 20% of the bill, 30% of the bill. You would have to manually calculate and then record it in the office expense, saying that 20% of rent hydro bill towards home office. Thank you for asking such useful questions. No, not for the tax portion. Once you calculate the manual portion of the total, then the taxes gets calculated automatically in you. Yeah. Again, walk you through. Wonderful questions today. I really love how everybody is, curious to know. Go back and do your expenses and keep your books accurate for your year-end. Really important. Now, moving on to expense analysis. Why do we have to do this? If you ask me compliance, I say no. Compliance involved here. Not everything is about compliance. Everything is also about our own betterment, for our satisfaction, for our for the health check of the firm, how you're doing, how your firm is doing. These expense analytics will, really make sense when you do it over a few months. And then you'll be able to compare them, do the ratios, and then, you don't have to do anything. Just go and drag and drop, and, the program will give you all the output. You just have to read through it to understand where you spend more, where you could spend less, or right? Understand the health of the business, do your expenses, run through the ratio to understand where you spend the most. Like, for example, in sample that you see here, most of my line of credit, sometimes recovery of expenses shown here as client disbursement. You know that your expense was mostly on disbursement. Now, more than anything, I feel that this analytics always throws you some numbers. Tells you that, hey, this is where you really stand. Sometimes it's nice to know, I mean, where you really stand to help your firm, what you could do, whether you're operating profit, loss, what you can do to make things better. Gives you a little foreseeable future planning, and analytics is, you just need to make sure that your data input is accurate to have analytics. Then don't come and blame at me saying that G3 said the analytics will help me, but then it's actually a dishelp. Many times I tell my clients that you need to be giving us accurate data for us to give you accurate reports. If you ever see reports and it throws you off, then there's something either wrong with what you've entered, or it's like giving you the true facts. The program cannot do mistakes with calculations. So it is what it is, end of the day. So be prepared to enter the data accurately so you could get the best out of what you never know, especially these analytics. They are such a boon, trust me, not for anything, but to be better version of yourself. I don't even have to go over this, but at this time, I know you all know the benefits of using a legal accounting software, because it's not general accounting software. It is a legal accounting that focuses on needs end to end, right from client intake, docketing to the trust and general data management, reconciliations, expense, your monthly reconciliations, compliances, your quarterly taxes, if you are registered for quarterly HST returns, and, your annual returns, your annual report filing. There's so much that we help you with end to end. Again, it all starts small with a full data entry on your client intake, goes long way with your taxes and report filing and audit filing. So in a nutshell, it'd be easy to use, helps you with analytics. You're accountable for all the information, accountability for all data that has been entered. And, the compliance, not me, that. Okay, so for the ones who are not uLaw users today, there's no more 30-day trial. It's me, every time I go back from this webinar, I love to edit this. I never get to it. I apologize. I think about a year or two ago, uLaw made it a 15-day trial. I mean, we still don't bother much about how long it is, but we try and help you settle in that 30 days. So even though the trial is for 15 days, we go way beyond helping you settle in, which is almost a 30-day version. So on paper, 15 days, yes, but off the records, we do help you for settling in takes you about 30 days. I do believe in that. If you are someone who's watching this webinar today, but not a uLaw user, please do register for the free trial. If you're already a uLaw user and you feel that you're really rocking at it, refer a friend. Let them benefit. Year end is coming up. I think it's really important that we spread the awareness, we help each other. Least you could do is to guide people to do the right things. If you are here today, go tell your friend, go get them to sign up, let them benefit, quote the Canadian software, let them take care of your worries. Yes, quickly jumping into the 15 days trial, like I said. But we do take almost 15 to 30 days to help you settle in. It's for 15 days, but onboarding process is about 30 days. If I could say that. Really found viewer number 21 to be helpful today, interactive. Thank you so much for coming up with more questions. So moving on to uLaw, very favorite Daniel Craig practice. It's a big run account. Okay, let's look into disbursements and office expenses. Moving on to, let's just take a random client in this one. Or you know what, we can actually create a new one so that we can look into the expense adding today. Well, let me take a quick client here. Okay. Oops. It's like to my notes, want to complete it incomplete. Anything that has to do with data entry, you do it end to end. I mean, I'm just taking this opportunity to give you all a little tip because, the times are you going to go back into this content to edit them, manage them? It's humanly not possible, but I mean, if at all there is a need, we can always do it. It's not like it's something impossible, but my times will get it done in one shot and, go to my next step because it gives me so much energy and I don't have to try and remember what I entered, what I did not enter, what do I need to go back and do and stuff. to see the gray writing inside the red bubble. Not sure what you're saying. Is it how green appears, like a red bubble, or not sure? You see if you can move that red bubble around. Now I'm trying to create a matter. Just try and move that red bubble around. You know what you're saying? View number 21. Just try and pull it to the end so that way you can see the center of the screen. When I just created a client, a simple, I'm sure you would know how to create a client. Simple contact, but I was stressing on how you need to keep it complete with all the information like email, source of contact, and all the details, right? And then I clicked on save and then I opened a matter. I'm here. I didn't bother about virtual verification, conflict check. I'm not focusing on that area today, guys. So when you create a contact, it's your duty to ensure you're downloading all the compliance documents right under contacts document generation tab. So you have let's check there, source of contact, feedback. You have virtual verification if you're virtually intaking a client all session. So please focus on that. I think we have a separate webinar on it will be going on in one of the upcoming weeks. Coming back to today's topic, focusing on disbursements and expense management. Right here, trying to create a client and file. So let me just keep it simple. I'm going to call this, graphic, okay, my favorite one. It's, you can say POA. You have a file code, file number, you can enter it. Those are code files. If you want to say speeding ticket or red light camera, anything to do with additional information on this matter, you can use the matter description. I'm just going over briefly as I go over the step. Hourly rate, if you're someone who charges by the hour, make sure to enter the hour. And then you have your assistant's hourly rate, and then save it. The title is name of the file. Mostly people reach out to you for whatever issue you want to briefly mention it over here. That's called as a matter title. Event title is basically the docket. It is the title for the docket. Let's say, for example, I met with a client, initial client meeting. I want to charge this client. I met with them for an hour, but the first 30 minutes of consultation was free. So instead of doing an autofill billable, I just did 30 minutes. That's how it. And then as I go adding the event, I would say I wanted to do a legal fee, flat rate. I call it as $400 plus. Similarly, I go to the disbursements retainer tab. Before I add disbursements, I want to make sure my trust has me. So it has $100, so I can show you how the trust withdrawal, which is payout for any fee or court filing fee or any other fee. You can also give a receipt in those things. Click on add new disbursement. Focusing on disbursement the next 2-3 minutes. There are different types of disbursement. I'm going to focus on 2 types today. Number 1, withdraw from trust. Number 2, withdraw from general. When you withdraw from trust, it's straightforward, paid out of trust because your trust has money. Remember, no markup, no profit. You are just doing exactly what you did. You either did a check, or you did a bank transfer, or you did a wire transfer, and then you are going to add a description saying the court fee. You can do it. So 100 sitting in trust, right? Came 300. The next disbursement I'm doing is from general. This time I would say the admin charges here, let's say bank, and then I would say plus tax, it cost the tax exempt doable. Make sure was a debit. How was the withdrawal done? The top portion is what you charge your client, and the bottom portion is what actually was charged to you. Now you're trying to do both at the same time, charging your client and entering what got charged. Charging your client, you will have to enter on the top. Entering at the bottom is what you got charged for. So let's say in your case, you got charged for something lesser, then you have to add it in accordingly. Markup is what goes on the top, and then the actual that you got charged goes to the bottom. Moving on to control, the reference number. I purposefully did not enter the reference number because I want to show you when you create a report, does it look with no reference, no paid to details. How do you show? So when there's markup, you just calculate on your own. Let's say 20 is what was, you come up with a number that you want to charge them. You enter the number in the pre-tax amount. If there's no percentage, you go by the amount. Right here. So the top portion against pre-tax is where you will enter. The bottom portion, the actual amount, goes against the pre-tax again. Yeah. Yes, on the pre-tax. Now, the next thing is add new disbursements. I want to do general. This time I would say US times 200, 200 plus tax. Save the gross. Paid through. Now, we have the disbursement center. Next thing I'm going to go, office expense. Anything that's related to the client and from the matter. Be needing another 5 to 10, and then I'll be picking up at 3 or 5. I'm going to take additional 5. It's going to be worth it. Now, the next thing I would do is to ensure that my backs are connected. Didn't get my backs connected. Let me try. Continue. As you all know, uLaw loves Bank Connect through Play. we have the banks connected. I'm just connecting my general account. As you all can see, it's success now. Reconnected my general in my credit card for now, but I would recommend you to do both. You don't have enough. Simply go into uLaw, general account, connect bank. All my transactions for this month shows up there. I just have to click on stock. Okay, it's an office expense. Maybe I took my product creation. Don't like that as a description. I would just say um, team bonding. Create. Pay to Spark Fund. Just pasted it over there. I selected my payment to save on my receipts. The reference number goes there. This is not office supplies. I have created something for this type. You can always go with miscellaneous. Okay, I'll just say miscellaneous over here. Then you have, let's say we have Starbucks. This meals. Just do here. The debit card. If there's under less than 10 seconds each transfer. Again, you see Uber, uLaw automatically recognizes as one of the ledgers. There you go. Automatically chooses the account. Don't like the description. I posted in stay to ledger. Just say Uber. Was not credit card, debit card. Description will be line. It does be complicated, but it's nice to have new details in there. Show you again. Okay, now I've entered both disbursements and, the office expenses. Now I want to manually add an office expense, office expenses. Let's say this time membership fee, uLaw monthly subscription, just say uLaw monthly. Paid subscription was 55.37. We calculate tax already, or you don't know the taxes portion, you 49 was the, whether you enter total or pre-tax, make sure before taxes or after taxes. You paid it to Superfluid Software Inc. And how did you pay it? You gave us your pad. It was called as a pre-authorization. And then you have a reference number, which will be our debit. That is your number. Okay. The credit card charges, add office expenses, interest and bank charges. Say bank fee, bank, $20. Mostly these are tax exempt. Sure. No. Then it was a pre-authorization. They debit your account. You have any reference number? You don't have. So far, these many expenses and disbursements have been entered. Our job is to go and down all these reports and would be helpful for paid accounts, my monthly compliances, for my purposes, for my auditors, a bunch of it under monthly compliance. the client's trust ledger, general ledger, journals. What am I going to do now? One, single disbursement journal. You can choose your period. I'm just going to do it for today. Then the other one I would do is something called as an expense book. Expense book for today that I'll do the client general ledger. Shows you both in and out. Hope everyone is with me. Hope it started to make a bit of sense what I wanted to show you all today. Start welcoming any questions. Let's go back into our documents that got generated. For one, clients, disbursement journal, like how, able to show you, payment, who it was paid to. Remember, there was one thing that I did not record purposely, the method of payment, the paid to details, and that is this one. Otherwise, if you have entered everything, end-to-end details, sense numbers, method, you take expense book, again, it will show you all the expense we made out of it. Here's the analytics portion. You have just fee paid yesterday. One, two fee paid to the client. So it's account fee paid to the client. Then pre-subscript. Now you can also get text. Okay? So going back in there, you had any compliance to do with any payment out of trust? You had a trust disbursement, it will go from there. Trust is the details clearly in there. Really what I wanted to walk you all through today go through uLaw platform today. So we have like from the dispersed uLaw, and either you're entering them manually by selecting the expense category, or whether you're through import. It'll tell you, it'll prompt you that the entered, some of them are missing, you need to take action, and then you can actually take action for the expenses perspective. Um, whichever one you have to, people are, they don't want to enter too much information. They can understand it, debit card and hope everyone made a note of it today. Any further questions? Be happy to talk and I'd really encourage you to use the freedom email, reach out to a great practice. And thank you everyone. And today I'll be here for a recording and there is attendance information. If you have any questions, please do. Thank you.